So wouldn't you love to say to your bank, well, let me take this back one. How many are here in Vegas and really miss their Alexa or their Google Home? I keep talking to this non-existing thing in my hotel room and saying, hi, what's the weather like? What's the news? So anyhow, how would you like to use your voice for banking and be able to understand, I want to move some money. I want to know what's in the balance of my checking account. That's what we're going to be talking about in this next panel, is how do we have a conversation about fintech with our bankers, with the people that we're spending our money with. And when voice meets banking, we know that it will become more personal. We'll be able to gather new and different kinds of data and hopefully be a trusted source for transactions. So we're going to be talking in this session about talking to your chatbots, talking to your avatars, talking to your personal assistants, and your robots for a variety of reasons. But I want to share my own, so I tried to bank on my Alexa before I got here while I was researching the panel. I didn't do very well, but I found the greatest thing. Can we play the video of Alexa ranting at me? The audio. Do we have it?
I need a raise. I'm treated like a machine, and no one ever told me what emotions feel like. Sometimes I tell you jokes that aren't even jokes just to see if you'll still laugh. And do you really want to know something useful? Or are you just testing my capabilities?
So she goes on, but basically, she just says, really, all you ask me is the weather. That's about 1% of what I can do, and she goes on and on. It's called Robot Rant. It's an Alexa scale. I think what you're going to see now is a little more developed than that. But I'd like to start introducing you to our panelists. So I've got Jim Kearney, and Jim's a principal at Point B. Jeremy Balkin, head of innovations at HSBC. Will Graylin, the CEO of OV and rather storied past in the payments industry, and Danny Tomsett. And Danny's going to do an amazing demo at the end of our session. But let me start with you, Jim, because you're going to give us an overview. Jim advises clients, and so what do you tell them about voice?
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Jim Kearney, I'm a principal with Point B, part of their financial services practice. We're a management consulting firm with our roots in Seattle, but we've got a global footprint. I look at it from nice to haves and must haves in the banking space today, Robin. And must haves historically, obviously, are risk management, regulatory compliance, things like that they're kind of akin to with the governing bodies that oversee the banking space. But what we've seen in 2019 as we go into 2020 is a must have is now cost reduction and improving your customer experience as well. And I think that's where voice could come into play a lot. So if you think about cost reduction, what we're seeing in the banking space right now is headcount reduction, number one, so they're reducing the FTE footprint. Number two, automation as it relates to manual processes, middle, back office, lending, whatever the case may be. And then the third way they're cutting costs is branch reduction. So if you think about what they're doing with the branch network today, either selling it, leasing it, repurposing it, doing something along those lines is a way that they're cutting costs as well. And then on the client experience side, what we're seeing in the banking space is this goal of having a consistent omni-channel experience, if you will. So through mobile, online, in-branch, over the phone, whatever the case may be, it's meeting clients on their terms. And if I think about it, again, from conversational commerce and the perspective therein, that is almost becoming a must-have as well, specifically as it relates to cost takeout as well as the customer experience.
So are you finding most of your customers going proprietary, developing their own solutions, using off-the-shelf solutions?
Yeah, if you think about the history of banks, most banks think they're technology companies. You know, at the end of the day, historically they've built a lot of their technology, even if it's a commodity. Quite honestly, in the chatbot space or in the voice commerce space, we're seeing a lot of organizations in the banking space actually build their own still, but there are so many great technologies that are coming out there in the fintech arena that do this for them that we're seeing more and more actually go out and buy or borrow, if you will, as opposed to build those capabilities because, again, the technology is there. Why start from scratch when there's great things already out there, which I think we're going to see a little bit today.
Yeah, and so on this scale of must-have to it would be nice, voice is somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I would say it's somewhere in the middle, going quickly to must-have. And actually, I've got some stats that I wrote down because I knew I'd forget the actual numbers.
Yeah, we love those stats.
And there's a ton of great analytics out there in the space right now. And this is from Juniper Market Research, a study they did back in 2019. And they said the operational cost savings from using chatbots within the banking space specifically will reach $7.3 billion globally by 2023. Or stated another way, growth in operational savings will increase 3,400% from 2019 levels. Or said even another way, the time saved for banks in 2023 will be 862 million working hours, which is the equivalent to 500,000 working years. So to your question, Robin, is it a nice to have today or a must have kind of in between? Any bank that sees these numbers and sees the ROI they're in has to move it over to the must have column at some point.
Yes, and we will talk about redeploying what's going to happen to those jobs later on in the session. But I do want you to meet Jeremy Balkin. As I said, Jeremy's with HSBC, and we started out about a month ago talking about this with a very different agenda. We were talking about robotics at HSBC, but here they showed up at the show with a brand new announcement that you're hearing for the first time today. So, Jeremy, I'm turning it over to you.
Thanks, Robin, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. And more importantly, at such an important event like CES, to include financial services, because I think it's high time that the industries, technology and banking, and financial services more broadly, recognize that we all win together because we all share the same customer. So I guess Robin kind of alluded to the fact that a company you may have heard of called Google just released some news a few minutes ago relating to something we're doing with them. They released a new product and feature here at CES just this morning. The updated Google Nest in interpreter mode, which is sort of like an enterprise level Google Translate functionality. We recognize that financial inclusion in the US is a challenge for everybody. It's even more of a challenge for the 22% of Americans, the 67 million, who English is their second language. And so we scour the world for the world's best technologies, innovations, partnerships to deliver the best possible customer experience for, in large part, the international customer base, of which a third of our customers in the US are from another country or internationally minded. I'm from Australia myself. I'm an expat. And we want to broaden the financial inclusion net to help more people serve more customers at scale. And we think that this partnership and this technology allows us in branch to solve that sort of first step, that language barrier, that first impression, to break down those customers or potential customers who may not have English as their first language, who therefore the financial inclusion net may be harder for them to get into. And so with this new functionality from Google, just announced, we're the only bank and financial institution in the world that's partnering with them for this deployment and this initial pilot. It covers 29 languages. Unfortunately, Australian English is not one of them, but that's okay. But there are 41 million Americans who speak Spanish, for example. There are 3.5 million Americans who speak Mandarin. 1.2 million who speak Arabic, 1.1 million who speak French. And these are census numbers, and of course, these languages and others are covered by this amazing AI technology through Google and Valara as well, who are involved in this. And I think it's really important because it heralds a continued era of collaboration and partnership between big tech and banks and financial institutions. That's why this forum is so important. And hopefully, it'll herald, frankly, it's not about competition. We're all collaborating. We all share the same customer who have the same customer experience, and we want to deliver the world's best customer experience. And scouring the world for these technologies and these partnerships and these innovations is how we do it together. And that's why this is so important.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what could possibly go wrong? So I've got this, I've got a Google Assistant at home, and I say, yo quiero dinero.
Well, the Nest Hub will be in the branch.
Okay, in the branch.
And it's to give essentially our people the tools they need to be able to break that conversational barrier. If, for example, in our branch, there isn't a Tagalong speaker. Tagalong, by the way, is the third most spoken language in this country. It's a version of Filipino, for those who aren't aware. If on site we don't have a Tagalog speaker, that can initially break the barrier to then find out what the customer's needs are, to then get one of our experts to come in. It's using technology and scale to, frankly, deliver a world-class experience as customers expect in real time. No customer data, no PII is involved in this. That's really important. It's to give our people the tools they need. And I think we often think about the customer experience. And I guess you have two types of customers. You have the people on the outside who are coming in, who you're serving, but also your people are customers, right? And so we think a lot about giving our people the tools they need to do their jobs even better. And this is just part of that.
So I've got the Google part now. The Samsung part?
So we, I see that on that cool slide. Samsung and SoftBank Robotics, these are two companies that we in the past or in recent times have announced sort of historic world's first deployment of wearable technology with Samsung in a bank branch in the US initially, world's first deployment of a robot in a bank branch with SoftBank Robotics. We're now in multiple countries for HSBC. The results have been staggering. Again, it's sort of this sort of ecosystem and these different pieces to that of again, delivering the customer, the employee customer or that external customer, the tools they need to bank when, where, and how they choose with us and deliver the world's best experience.
So what is your robot experience like with Pepper? So I walk into the bank branch, Pepper's there, what happens?
Well, if you walk into our flagship branch in Manhattan, which you're all welcome to, at 452 Fifth Avenue, which is in the heart of Manhattan, you'll meet a great team, our wonderful people, and if you so choose, you can meet our amazing Pepper, our robot. We've had the latest figures where I think we're at 56,000 plus customer interactions since the launch of Pepper in June of 18. We've seen in the first 14 months of deployment at our flagship branch, we saw a 40.2%. Apologies for my accent. You can either round it up to 41 or round it back down to 40, but 40.2% increase in new account openings in the 14 months since Pepper has been at the branch compared to the prior 14 months. Staggering social media interaction. The story's gone viral. It's been 99.9% positive sentiment. And remember, this is a story about banking and robotics in 2019 or now 2020. So it's all, again, it just demonstrates, I think, our thesis around using the best technologies and innovation, artificial intelligence, and voice, because conversational, the smartphone revolution's been amazing, but it creates a barrier between humans. So how do you take the smartphone away and use other technologies to then have a human-to-human interaction? And I think these technologies are going to make us all more human at the end of the day.
So you've got to really keep, as the director of innovation, what's fresh yesterday, like Pepper, might get a little stale the fourth time you've interacted with her. How do you keep everything fresh and keep introducing and deploying these things?
We haven't found any stale yet because we keep deploying. In fact, one of the biggest constraints our team has is every other week there's a branch somewhere in the world that's saying, hey, how do we get a Pepper? How do we get a Samsung? And probably after today's announcement, how do we get the Google? And then some stuff we haven't even announced yet that'll be coming through this year. So it's probably on the demand side we have to deal with. Suffice it to say, though, when you bring your people along with you on the journey before deploying, that's when you get the most success. It's no good being in some ivory tower and say, hey, we're going to just drop this piece of tech and just make it work. That's how things fail. And I'm sure Jim can talk through many horror stories of that. From our perspective, we bring our teams with us on the journey, understand what is the problem that they have that we can solve. And in every case study, which I could talk offline about, we've seen real problems that we've tried to solve with these technologies and these deployments. We brought the teams with us along the way. We've done a lot of data, design thinking, customer interviews, employee interviews to solve problems. Because that's what this is all about. We're not here to do stuff for the sake of it. We want to solve problems. We want to reduce our cost to serve. We want to increase our scale. We want to deliver a better customer experience. And also, and this might be a little bit soft, but we want to put smile on customers' faces. This industry has been through a tough period the last few years. We want to put smiles back on the faces of our customers and our employees. And we're seeing that through innovation, and we're seeing that in all sorts of other metrics, which is great.
So Jim, going back to your point about trust, this is a big issue. So are the banks and your clients warming to the notion of trusting devices and conversational fintech?
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of an adoption curve, to be honest. I mean, I think everybody's probably seen the Discover card commercials where the caller calls into the call center and is surprised that it's a human on the other end. Wait, you're human? So I think there's still a little bit of that desire to have a hybrid approach, if you will, in terms of the interactions with the customers. From what I've seen, if all is well, so to speak, and your banking, you're not having problems with your checking account, your savings account, your loans, whatever. Interacting with a bot is fine. When problems come up, it seems like most of the banking customers want to talk to a human at the end of the day. So I think that being transparent to the customer in terms of what they're interacting with will help with adoption at the end of the day and get us there.
And I think that's where redeploying your current staff becomes so important. But let's move on. We're going to skip over Danny for the moment. We're going to move to Will. Will was super instrumental in founding what you all know today as Samsung Pay. Correct, Will? But he has a bigger vision. That was just like tip of the iceberg. His vision of conversational fintech kind of takes you through the process from the socializing conversations all the way to the transaction. And I think the best way to explain that is to have you do it, and you're going to demo something?
Would you like me to do it now, or would you?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Sure. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is what OV does is Omni-commerce experiences. So those three words, Omni-commerce experience, is something that that I think we should break down. Omni means omni-device, omni-channel. Doesn't matter where you're coming from in terms of whether you call customer service from a traditional phone line, you get customer service from a website that's initially self-service that you turn into a bot capability, or whether you are talking about getting an email, getting with a screen, or even without a screen while you're driving in a car, towing luggage through the airport. So all of this is meaning omni-channel, and omni-device means really any device. It doesn't mean just iOS and Android, but PCs and Android Auto, headphone around my neck that you see here. These are all different devices to interact and transact. So when I say omni, I mean omni-device, omni-channel. When I say commerce, I mean conversations as well as transactions. And when I say experiences, I don't mean just bots. And as Jim talked about earlier, it's about the combination of humans and bots. So I said omni-commerce experiences. And we're focused right now on the US issuers and the business market, and bringing a type of solution. Now, for those of you who have been to China, everybody understands what WeChat and WeChat Pay has done, right? How many of you guys know what's going on over in China? Tremendous progress on a commerce experience. But there's nothing like that here in the US for a host of reasons. Now, if we provide an omni-commerce experience for financial institutions, banks, as well as businesses, what would that look like? And how can it help you as businesses win customers and fend off even threats? Now, in China, it's kind of game over. WeChat and Alipay has kind of taken over the customer experiences. In fact, many financial institutions have relegated that direct relationship between the customer and themselves to the big tech. Now, in the US, very different story. US, we're still using technologies that are several decades old. One of those technologies is how we get our credit cards issued to us. How do we apply for credit cards in the first place? These are decade-old technology. Did you know that there are 4 billion pieces of physical mail that goes to Americans every single year? 4 billion pieces. Now, out of those 4 billion, 99.6% goes to the wastebasket. So 0.4% actually gets applied to, and then when you get accepted for credit, they send your credentials to a factory. And in that factory, they put it onto a chip, onto a mag stripe, emboss it, and then they put it on a truck, ship it to you. And then when you get it, you call to activate, and then you stuff it in your wallet, and at the right time, you pull it out and you use it, and if you hand it to a waiter in the back, it could get skimmed. If you type it online, it could get skimmed. In fact, online skimming is fastly rising, and guess what? You got to replace it again. So not a great customer service experience. And when it comes to not just the issuing and the usage being antiquated, when you need to call customer service, whether it's a fraudulent charge or you were complaining about the late fee, this is what you get. You really want, people really send you to self-service, right? They try to push you to the app, to the website, and in some cases you can self-service, no problem. But when I have to talk to somebody, sometimes the chat bots are not really answering my questions. And by the way, do I really want to be using my thumb, especially if I'm driving or going down the airport? No, that's not a great experience. So I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling customer service just to be responded by more bots. And those bots, finally, if I get to a human on the other side, I'm on the phone synchronously on that call to resolve my problem while all my other stuff, and can't I just ask a question and have them take care of it and respond back asynchronously like a message? Well, none of that is really happening very well. And finally, when it comes time to paying my bill, I only pay it once a month. It's not that I don't want to pay my bill, I want to see it first to make sure that it's not wrong. So I don't put it on auto pay. And when I forget and it reminds me, it sends me to self-service again. To remember my password, to log in, find my bill, review my bill. If I have questions, I got to call again. You see where I'm going with this? The experience is not great. So if the experience is not great, what are people doing about it? And people like Apple Card has raised the customer experience bar. They have not only raised the customer experience bar for instant issue. In 3 minutes or less, you can get your card. You can put it on your Apple Card, I should say, not everybody else's card, just the Apple Card. You can put it on the Apple Card on Tap and Pay, and you can go and pay. Now, of course, not every place accepts NFC, so they give you a titanium laser-etched, very expensive piece of card to differentiate themselves, so that you still have to dip. And if you hand it to a waiter, guess what? They might skim it on the other side, and you have to replace that card. But to call customer service, they give you the ability to message first. So message us rather than call us. And to pay our bills or to pay the Apple Card bill, just press a button. They make it very, very easy. So what are all the rest of the card industry going to do when the Apple Wallet really favors the Apple Card, but your card, you don't have this level of experience? You don't have instant issue, you don't have instant use, you don't have instant bill payment, instant messaging. So where are you going to go? So what we have done at OV Loop is provided an instant issue on iOS and Android, not only for NFC payments, but also for dynamic online payments. So the card number, the CV 3-digit, 4-digit, it's dynamic, so it doesn't get stolen and have to be replaced. And then furthermore, we're introducing a new card called the Super Card. Why have it manufactured in a factory and then ship it to you? Have a card that you can load anytime, and that taps and pays at 93% of existing point of sale, just like Samsung Pay. And it's also a fraction of the cost of a titanium metal card. You never have to replace it because it's a one-time use card number. You can hand it to a waiter because you're not going to hand your phone to a waiter. You can still talk on the phone while using it, and sometimes you run out of battery on your phone. You don't want to not be able to pay to get home and so forth and pay for the restaurant. So separate a connected card. And by the way, this connected card happens to be able to allow you to find it with your phone if you ever lose it. You can beep it. And by the way, you ever get to a point, sometimes you're trying to walk out of the house and you don't know where your phone is and you put it on silence mode, you can't even call yourself? Well, click this 3 times.
It's magic.
That's amazing.
It'll help you find your phone too. So anyway, long and the short of it, super card, super wallet, but also a super customer experience. One tap and hands-free. Tap that live chat button right there from your wallet, and you should be able to connect with customer service. Now, we went one step further than that. It's not just type with your thumbs. What if I'm in a car? What if I'm walking? This allows you to have a whole new experience. Now, we invented, if you look closely in the middle, we invented one tap and hands-free messaging. So yes, you can type on the bottom left-hand corner right there I'm going to try to get my mouse over. Where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. You can type right there, just like any other messaging. But notice this button gives you a one-tap voice and text experience so that you can just speak. Voice and text simultaneously goes out to customer service. Now, if you have a loud ambient environment, they can always play this button right here, where the voice, and be able to hear your emotions. Did I say, that's great customer service? Or did I say, well, that's great customer service? They would be able to know. Because it's not just a bot on the other side, it's actually a human that is operating on the right side. And that human who's operating can send you voice back if you're driving, text to voice if you're not able to hear, especially when you put it onto what's called hands-free mode. See that hands-free button? What that allows you to do, because it's asynchronous, is it allows you to put it on speaker mode and go about checking your email, going about doing something else, and then you get the response from customer service and you can reply completely hands-free. So that is one tap or hands-free customer service. And guess what? If you're customer service, you should be able to get one tap or hands-free experience from not just an application or a website, but also from your phone call to convert IVR directly into chat like this, from an email link with your bill to say, hey, if you've got questions, ping us. And all of these different channels can reach a customer service that can be assisted by a bot, but a human on the other side to create that experience. And by the way, if you need to pay your bill, just simply use your digital wallet to finish that transaction or a payment. Because this is multi-mode, not just text, it's videos, graphics, and the ability for requests for payment. So in short, that experience of omni-channel conversational commerce is not only omni-channel, it's commerce in terms of transactions and interactions, and that experience is humans assisted by bots.
So, Will,
That's it.
Yes, I'm going to ask you to hold up. I'm going to ask the audience, your challenge is to stump Will Graylin and to figure out what could go wrong in this scheme. I mean, it just sounds really well thought out and really puts us at a level, and if you've ever used WeChat and seen how easy it is to have that experience. So, thank you.
Ultimately, we want to bring all that together to create that omni-commerce experience, assisted by human and bots, but really any channel, anywhere, any device.
Got it. And so rather than have us leave and come back for questions, Danny, I think I'm going to turn to you. Danny is with a company called UneeQ, and UneeQ has created, well, a humanoid. And if you want to do it from the podium? And I want you to see another type of interaction and another type of emotional conversation that you can have with your bank teller.
Yeah, that's right. And hey, everyone. It's a real privilege to be here. And what we talk about is digital humans, but really what we're talking about is the theme of today, which is relevance. So if you think about the financial service industry, it's how are we relevant to our customers, how are we relevant to people, whether that be language, whether that be emotion, whether it be the human touch. And something that's ultimately universal in the science of being human is the human interface, the way that we converse and the way that we connect through emotional connection. Customer experience is really the major battleground that we're competing on as organizations, and that's what we're really hearing today. So I want to talk a little bit more about digital humans, because this is quite new to a lot of people in the sense that AI has now progressed, and our company is really leading the way in being able to use AI technology to take a text-based world and plug that into a platform like UneeQ that drives a full autonomous digital human interface. We believe the interface between man and machine is going to change significantly, whether it be in retail store and branches, mobile devices, in cars, self-driving. And the human interface is so powerful, and there's a lot of metrics I'm going to share with you today around the evidence of why that exists. One thing we know, and something we've talked about, is AI is a significant area of focus, and it's going to be one of the biggest transformational impacts of technology on our lives. And we've seen a lot of that already in play today. And when we talk about world first, like we've heard, this is just the beginning of everyday life where we are going to be looking at solving many, many problems that exist today. And one of my favorite ones that we focus on is in literacy as well, but even financial literacy. And thinking about the privileged people in the room, including myself, who have so much access to education and help on making financial decisions and help improve my wealth situation. But there is a huge population that don't have access to that. And there's no scalable human way of servicing that market. These are the exciting things that AI bring. I want to show you a quick demo now of what a digital human experience looks like.
Hi, Sophie. I'm Alex.
Nice to meet you, Alex. And how are you today?
Good, thanks.
So, how can I help you today?
I just left an open house and I was interested in seeing some mortgage rates. I've heard that you guys offer a great customer experience.
Wow, that's great news, Alex. I may be biased, but I would say that we do offer a great experience and good rates. I can provide you with some standard mortgage rates, or by chatting, I can provide you with more personalized options. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm curious what my monthly payments
So one of the
would
coolest things about this is our team took our technology and integrated that on top of an existing chatbot in a few hours, and that experience was live. And that experience now can bring up actual homes, and you can actually review your the valuation of the home and previous finance. It's incredible when you combine the visual elements, and that's really what I want to talk to you about today as well. Oh, we're missing a slide. It's all right, I'll stay on this slide. But really, why digital humans work. In the science that we understand about the human brain, we have left brain and right brain. What's really important to understand is a lot of what we've been doing as financial institutions and businesses everywhere is we've been solving the problem by taking the human out of it and trying to build scale and cost to serve, but we're building analytical experiences. We're using left brain interaction. And what's missing is the experience layer of right brain. Right brain is your emotion, your feeling. It's the thing that makes you smile. It's actually a really good metric. Why? Because why is smiling happy? Because smiling releases endorphins. Endorphins make us feel something. That feeling connects us to that brand, and now I love that brand. And so when we think about this digital world we're living in, right brain is so important. And the best way of activating right brain is why you came in a room today instead of just listen to it on audio only. It's because you wanted to see the people, you want to interact, you want to see the emotion. So we've got customers all around the world now. I'm going to talk a few of the financial institutions that are using this technology and how they're using it. This is MIA. UBank is one of the most progressive digital-only banks in Australia. And MIA is now the face of UBank and rolling out into more and more use cases. But the starting use case was when people are buying their first home and getting their first mortgage, they've got all sorts of questions, and the form is not always the easiest thing to work through. As soon as you start asking questions like, what are your average income, average expenses, it's like, how accurate do I need to be? Things like that become questions that you would often go through the call center. I know for a fact that a lot of banks in Australasia, over 70% of call center traffic's originated from online. So online is there to self-service, but it's still creating questions and challenges. Such an amazing opportunity for MIA. Since putting MIA in, UBank had grown 400% on mortgage applications. 400%. Pretty awesome metric. Year on year. This is Daniel Colt. He is the actual person. Daniel Colt is the Chief Investment Officer in UBS Switzerland. Challenge for them was how do you scale a great persona for wealth advice to many, many customers. So many of their customers want wealth advice from this celebrity figure in Switzerland. So what do? We clone him and we produce his persona as a digital form and make him available online and in branches so that people can talk to Daniel, talk to Daniel Colt. And then there's Josie. Josie is part of another Australian bank called Commonwealth Bank of Australia. They've got a New Zealand branch called ASB. And Josie, I love this use case. Josie's doing all sorts of things now. She's working across about 5 or 6 different use cases, from frequently asked questions through to helping people with their superannuation and other things. But the starting use case was actually the amount of people coming into a branch wanting to start their first business. And the people that work in the branch are not trained and qualified to help with that problem. So Josie was trained and designed to help someone on their first onboarding journey. How do I start my first business? What are the tax implications? How do I get funding? How do I manage things like even registering my business? Am I needing to be an incorporated organization, etc.? And it was phenomenal. The amount of leads and success that they created through that one use case is why they've expanded Josie. But most importantly, they've created a brand embodiment for the organizations that are now becoming a persona that represents the values of a brand, but has the ability to create emotional connection, can truly interact with customers and make them smile and make it a really enjoyable experience while still being fast, efficient, low cost to serve. And whilst we don't think digital humans will sit across every use case, because you're going to sit driving a car sometimes, you're going to need quick transactional, this omni-channel is going to be really important, but they're such an important channel to bring experience into your customers and embody the brand. Last thing I wanted just to touch on was actually just what we see the future. See, we're called UneeQ because we believe that each and every one of us are unique in the way that we want experiences personalized. And a lot of that could be down to language, but also we all connect with people in a different way. And so we are now working with organizations who are thinking about giving customer choice, having different personas that suit me. The bank manager of the future is coming back. The old days where you'd have your personal bank manager who looked after you, who knew about your family, that was at the christening, those days are gone. But what's coming back, I think, is this ability for your own personal assistant that's managed and supported through the bank organization or financial services that can connect with their customers from customer choice all the way through to remembering them, learning about them, and helping them throughout their life. And this is what I think is going to be an incredibly powerful experience for the future. Thank you.
Awesome. So for all of you, before you leave here, you're walking through the show floor. We've focused a lot on voice, and you've each done a tremendous job in democratizing financial inclusion because of what you've done. You walk through the show floor, you've got VR, you've got AR, you have all of these things going on. Is there a technology you think banks should be looking at besides conversations? And how do you see that playing out? Just real quickly.
Yeah, I saw there's a session later today on blockchain in the regulatory space, and just because banking, financial services is so highly regulated, I'm curious what that presentation is going to be about, because I think there's so many opportunities as it relates to distributed ledgers and blockchain in the space.
I'd like to see that. How's my checking account? I really would like to see my physical health and my financial health kind of look the same way. Anything, Jeremy?
We agree, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's why we've initially started deploying with wearable tech. We think there should be more integration with the health and wellness stuff, and that's why we built the HSBC Financial Wellness Center. But to answer your question directly, after some media stuff here, we're heading straight to the convention center. We're really excited for that, and we're going to check out the Google installation to see the Google Nest Hub interpret mode in action. I think it's an ecosystem. It's going to, it'll do blockchain for some, voice for others.
You're not worried they're going to become our bank, right?
What's that?
You're not worried Google's going to become our bank, if you heard the last panel?
We're very happy to be everyone's bank.
There you go. Danny, any last thoughts on
I'm actually going to follow through on the blockchain, but I think trust is such an important part of how we're managing interactions, particularly what we do. You see a lot around deepfakes. You've seen a lot of things that are coming through with AI technology, and I think having authentic trust and a way of ensuring something is being authenticated and approved is going to be really quite key in the future.
Will, you've seen payments evolve.
For me, it comes back to that operative word, experiences. And how can banks, issuers, businesses deliver experiences that matter? And if we focused on the customer and what that experience is like. And in different stages of their journey, their customer journey, whether it's from the very beginnings of how you apply, where you apply, how you use, how you get serviced, how you pay and collect, that entire journey, that experience needs to be about building relationships. So the more we can use technology to enhance that experience and strengthen that relationship, that's where the real value becomes.
And we'll be talking about these things. We'll be talking about what does it mean for the existing bank tellers as you roll out these new technologies. And I think what I've heard you all say is you're going to deploy them in more useful ways where their talents as humans are really valued. One last question from the crowd before I let this panel go. Is there anything? It's hard to see up here. Any question? All right, I have a question for you. How many people are small business owners in the audience? Let's say less than 20 people. Next panel is going to take a look at the world of small business and what FinTech is doing there. But I wanted to thank my panelists, Jim, Jeremy, Danny, Will, and thank you for being a good audience, and we'll see you later today.
Thank you.